Now, the Canadian federal government have released the 2023 to 2024 budget just last week. I've gone through the whole budget so you don't have to, and for this video, I'll be breaking down all the key things that will affect you in the future. Here are the 8 types of people that would want to watch this video. If you're a low-income family under 40K, if your family income is under 90,000, if you're a business owner looking to transfer your business later on to your kids or employees, if you're a high-income earner over 175,000, if you're a business owner or executive of a company that have a pension plan other than a defined benefit plan, you also want to watch this. The 6th group of people would be the RESP holders. 7th group would be anyone with an RDSP. And finally, if you're someone who is being shady and just try to skip tax, either illegally or do some gimmick loophole way that you think it will work, you also may want to watch this video because there is some change in there that can make it very expensive for you. And as always, help us like this video and join our private Facebook group where we have over 5,000 members, or follow us on any social media that I listed on the screen. Alright, so let's dive into it and look at the key points of this year's budget. Now first, let's talk about the 2 big spending categories that will affect a lot of people. The first one is they will be upping your GST rebate double for low-income family up to $467 per year. Next, they are also committing $13 billion in dental coverage. This is going to affect everyone who is earning under $90,000 family income. So maybe if you're in this category going forward next year, a lot of the dental stuff you no longer have to pay for. Other than that, let's now visit rule changes that will be affecting a lot of people. The first change will be targeting business owners looking to pass the business to their kids. Budget 2023 is proposing some change to an existing bill, Bill 208, that has been passed in 2021. The original bill's intention is really to help family with a family business looking to transfer the business to their family member to not to have to pay too much tax overall. But the government thinks that people are now taking advantage of this bill and they're entirely avoiding tax when they weren't supposed to. So the budget is going to propose a change to this bill to make sure only family business looking to transfer really to their kids can take advantage of these tax breaks. This new rule is now going to offer 2 different options to transfer your business. One is quicker and the other is much slower. You can either have a 3-year window to transfer to your family or a gradual 5 to 10-year window. But no matter which option you pick, there will be new tests that you will have to pass in order to make sure this whole transfer is done properly. Essentially, these tests are looking to separate if you are really trying to transfer your business to an adult that is participating in this business actively, or you're just doing so to avoid tax. If you pass these tests, at the end you will get a 10-year tax break on this transfer. But if you do not pass the test, then the adult child who has received this business will now have to pay more tax than before. These new rules will start in January 2024. Next, let's look at a new thing called Employee Ownership Trust, EOT. Now, as a business owner, are you interested or have you ever thought about transferring your business to an employee and let them buy you out in the future? If so, the Canadian government is thinking about introducing the EOT to really help facilitate this transfer in the future. Now, this EOT is a trust that is set up to buy and hold business shares going forward on behalf of the employee intended to purchase this business in the future. This new options allow the employee to acquire the business without having to directly buy the shares right away. To qualify to use this, the business must have most of its asset earning active income in Canada, and it cannot be run as a partnership. And to accommodate this new trust, any business that qualifies will now get an extension of the capital gain reserve pool going from 5 years to 10 years. In addition, a new exception to the shareholder loan rule will also be implemented. They're now extending the repayment period to up to 15 years for any amount that is used to put inside this trust to facilitate this business purchase. This ownership trust will also be exempt from a 21-year deemed disposition rule that is applicable to other trusts outside. And lastly, keep in mind that this new trust will be implemented after January 1st on 2024. All these changes are now going to be massive for any business owner really trying to have an employee to take over the business. They're making things a lot easier for everyone and making it a lot more tax efficient. So if you're exploring this option, make sure you bring it up to your CPA because this is going to open up a lot more opportunities for everyone. Next, let's look at something called Alternative Minimum Tax, AMT. Now, AMT is something that has been around for many years. It's always been there. It's a tax mechanism trying to prevent high-income earners looking to write off their income drastically or completely so they end up paying little to no tax. It's trying to prevent that from happening. Now, before this change, AMT has a 15% flat rate on any income over the 40,000 threshold. So anything over 40,000, you would times that by 15%, that would be your tax floor. And you can compare that amount to the actual tax that you may have to pay without this AMT. At the end, you will see which one is higher, and that will be the tax you have to pay for the year. So this is how they can prevent that high income earner cannot get away with paying almost no tax for that year. But now, with this new budget, the government is looking to broaden the application of AMT and make sure it is actually targeting the really high income people in Canada. So they propose to do so by changing 3 things. Number 1, they want to increase the AMT threshold from 40,000 to 175,000 starting 2023, and this amount will be indexed to inflation going forward. This leads me to the second change is once it kicks in, they want to up the original 15% flat rate to 20.5%. So if the new change is implemented, it will be much harder for anyone to trigger the AMT threshold, but the moment you are triggered, you may have to end up paying a much higher floor tax. Now, other than that, they also is implementing the third change, which is to broaden the application and change some calculation that will count it as income. Specifically, they're upping the AMT calculation for capital gain from 80% inclusion to 100%. In addition, 100% of employee stock options will also now be counted for AMT. Stock option is a very popular option for any high-level executive looking to really push down income and not show too much on paper. They usually get a large amount of their compensation through stock option. But if this change is implemented, this is also going to count towards the AMT, and they may have to end up paying a lot higher tax than before. Now, next let's talk about a specific pension plan called Retirement Compensation Arrangement, RCA. RCA has been around for a long time. It is basically an additional pension style compensation that is set up for high-level executives other than the DB or DC plan that they already have. But the downside about a RCA is that 50% of all contributions or gains inside will be withheld by CRA every year. So essentially only half of the money put inside is really growing and really doing work in the long run. This is a pretty hefty tax for RCA, but the good news is with the budget in 2023, we're seeing some changes. The budget is proposing a change to the Income Tax Act, so then going forward, any fees or any interest incurred to secure that letter of credit for the RCA will no longer be subject to refundable tax. This change will apply to any fees or premium paid after March 28, 2023. However, any amount that is paid prior to that will also get a prorated treatment. So if you're a business owner or a high-level executive with an RCA right now, after this budget has been implemented, your retirement benefit should see some improvement inside. So make sure you stay tuned for updates regarding this change. Now moving forward, let's talk about changes applicable to Registered Education Saving Plan, RESP. And there are 2 major changes. The first one is to increase the Educational Assistance Payment Limit. EAP is basically the amount that you're withdrawing from your RSP every year to use for education. It is currently $5,000 for full-time students and $2,500 limit for part-time students. Budget 2023 is proposing to up this limit from $5,000 to $8,000 for full-time and $2,500 to $4,000 for part-time. The next change they're looking to implement is to allow divorced parents to jointly open an RDSP for the children. Currently, only married or common law can open if they're staying together. Now, if you divorce after you open the plan together, you can still jointly manage this together, but you can no longer open new ones using current rule. With Budget 2023, after it's implemented, they're looking to allow divorced parents to still open one afterwards just so they can co-parent their kids together. Very useful change because RESP miscommunication where 2 parents each started their own without talking to each other is super common to happen, and this will lead to a lot of over-contribution and confusion when it comes to grants. So it's a great news to allow separated parents to still open one jointly. Next, let's talk about Registered Disability Saving Plan, RDSP. Currently, there's a temporary rule allowing qualifying members such as parents, spouse, or common law partner to be the RDSP's plan holder if the beneficiary's capacity to hold the plan is in doubt. This rule set is supposed to expire by December 31st, 2023. The budget is proposing to extend this rule by 3 more years to 2026. So if a qualified family member opens a plan and becomes a plan holder before 2026, after this expires in 2026, they can continue to be the plan holder. The budget is also proposing to broaden what is qualified member from just parents and spouse or common law to include sibling as well. And this is great news because sometimes the parents may not have the capacity as well to be a plan holder, or they worry they will pass away first. It is going to be much better to allow sibling to help out as well. And finally, let's talk about trying to avoid tax. And this is going to target Anti-General Avoidance Rule, GAR. Basically, GAR is a set of rules inside Income Tax Act targeting people trying to do shady or questionable stuff to really pay a lot less tax or completely not pay tax at all. Now, even though they have been working before, the government is worried that the existing rule set is not strong enough to really protect themselves in terms of avoiding tax. So they're looking to make some changes here. One thing they're thinking about is to make a test to see whether something you're doing right now is counted as tax avoidance or not. They want to make this test in a way where it is easier to separate the people that are actually trying the shady, the loophole stuff versus other people that are actually doing things legally and are just smart about tax. They're also trying to implement a new rule set to separate people that are doing actual economic activities versus people just trying to use loopholes to avoid paying tax. Now, finally, they want to up the penalty. For anyone caught using the GAR to avoid tax, they may have to pay a penalty up to 25% of the benefit they receive by avoiding the tax. And if they don't inform the CRA of what they're doing upfront, they also may face a much longer assessment period than the usual 7 years that many people hear about. So think twice if you want to do some gimmick stuff to pay a lot less tax. And one of the examples of tax avoidance or loophole is something I've talked about before in another videos. For example, a TFSA maximizer. You might hear people on YouTube saying how you can transfer money from RRSP to TFSA tax-free and doing a bunch of different like leveraging and borrowing here and there. In my video, I've proven that CRA have said it doesn't work. If you try to do something like this is GAR, they will come after you, they will assess you, and they will give you a very heavy penalty. So that's an example of tax avoidance. So think twice if you want to do something like this. Now, other than that, I also want to bring up what is not addressed in this budget that people were looking forward to hear more on. Number one are the increase in capital gain inclusion rate. There has been many talks to up from the 50% to 75%. This has not been addressed in the budget. Also, there's nothing about measures broadly targeting capital gain planning. And lastly, they've mentioned about wealth tax a year or two ago. This has also not been brought up. Other than that, I'm also disappointed there's really nothing targeting housing crisis in particular. Also seems like they're making it worse by now allowing non-PR student that is studying here to start buying a house, which is, just 90 days after the foreign buyer ban, they kind of reverting some of it. I'm kind of disappointed that they're doing this right now. We have problem with demand and supply issue, and I don't think this is going to help it, but I'm going to save this for another video to discuss this in more detail. So that's everything I want to talk about for this budget update. If you think I missed something or there's other things you think I should be talking about or want to let me know, tell me in the comment down below. If you like these kind of videos, I do upload them 8:30 EST every 2 weeks. So make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell button to get all the notifications in the future. And also on the side are all my social media. If you want to help me with the algorithm, you can also follow me or find me there as well. This is Jacky. I hope you found this interesting. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!